We've just taken delivery of our Weathertex siding, so this episode of our tiny house build is going to be all about installing the siding on the tiny house. We're starting the installation process by sealing where our wall wrap comes down the side of the tiny house and runs along. So we're actually going to use this aluminium reinforced tape to seal so that any water that does come down inside in our cavity gap won't get onto our plywood subfloor or be able to seep in between the plywood subfloor and the rail of the tiny house. So I'm working out how we're going to attach the siding to the tiny house. We've got several things going on here. We've got our siding, we've got a cavity closure strip which will go right around the perimeter of the tiny house, and then we're using a cavity batten. So the cavity batten will come down into that cavity closure, and then our siding will screw off through the cavity batten, and then we need to work out the amount of overhang that we want here so that it looks nice and flush all the way around. The next thing that we've got happening is we've actually got an aluminium strip that comes down into the corner, something like that, and then the Weathertex siding comes in like so we get a nice flush finish. We'll paint these aluminium strips a gloss black to match the windows. So now I'm just working my way around the edge of the tiny house, putting the cavity closer right around. So we'll continue that process and we can get all the battens on this side. We're using a 3/16 pop rivet here because it has a very shallow profile for when we bring the battens down in case any of them are in the way. We've been working on getting the aluminium corner pieces all installed for where our siding comes into. So now we have them painted and installed. We've been getting all the battens on, the cavity battens for the siding, and we're just starting to get the first couple of pieces of siding worked out so that we get them aligned along the bottom correctly. This piece is about to go on. And then up the front here you'll see where we've got the first couple of pieces installed, and we're paying close attention to make sure that we get the sides lined up correctly, and then as we progress up the side of the tiny house we want to make sure that all of those edges line up as we build it out. So today we're really focusing on getting at least the bottom ones installed right around, and then we can start working up once we get all the little tricky bits around that bottom edge done. So some good progress, and the siding is going to look great. So we're test fitting this piece on the wall with the next piece. We've got it clamped up. We've 45-degree mitered the edge. We've got this lined up and in place. And then what we're going to do is take it off we're going to run a sealant along this seam, and then that will bring it all in nice and tight and seal the edge. And then we can continue on around the rest of the tiny house. Okay. So we've just test fitted this. Now I'm just going to run some sealant down the edge. All we need is a tiny little bead. Okay. We don't want to move him too much once we get him all lined up. We've got a previous screw hole that we're going to use here. What we want to do is just let this sealant squish out the bottom, so to speak. Going into the actual rail of the tiny house there, so we need a couple of pilot holes. We want to make the screws so that it's just flush. And then what we'll do is we'll come back later and just trim off the excess of that sealant. Just want to give everybody an update on where we're at and the work that we've been doing for the last week or so on the tiny house build. We've been working on getting the cladding established and level, and we've worked around, put the bottom layer on right around the tiny house so that we've got this consistent all the way around, leveled up, and then we can continue to build on the rest of the cladding from there. So as far as the cladding goes, that's the hard part done. The rest of it really is just a matter of keeping it in line and making sure that the corners wrap around as we go and that we don't get any creep one way or the other way around the tiny house. A little bit on the siding that we're using. It's actually a product from a company in Australia called Weathertex. It's actually an all-natural, sustainable hardwood product that goes on a conveyor belt. It's shredded hardwood trees that is piled about 6 to 8 inches high on a conveyor belt, and then goes into a massive press and then comes out with this natural wood grain finish. From there it can be either stained or painted. We're going to actually use a stain, more on that a little bit to come. What I'll do is I'll take you around and show you what we've done to date and then where we're going to continue on. So I'm just going to grab the camera here. So what we've done is we have these metal corners that the cladding wraps into, and if I grab a quick little piece of cladding, you can see that what happens is it's called a Selflok cladding. So it has a groove in the back, and then as we go on from now on, that actually locks in place and slides up into the corner. So as we continue around, it's just a matter of making sure that we keep these in line and then level right around the building. So what we've done to date is we've installed all of the bottom sections. We have them aligned. We can do a lot of hidden screws around it, and then on the joints we're actually using a Selflok seal. This back section was rather difficult because it involved a lot of angles, and it's a matter of doing those cutouts to get the angles lined up and then right up to the top of the house. Again, another 22.5 degree angle on this back section where the two pieces meet, and then as we build that up we'll have another angle on this section where the straight and the 45 degree angle meet. So half of that 45 is 22.5 degrees, and then we'll continue on and work around the doorways and the windows and so forth as we go. We're making some good progress on the outside cladding on the tiny house. I just wanted to show you a couple of things. So as we work our way around the corner, we've made some good progress on the top. We need to put some more cavity battens up on the very top. As we work our way around the corner, we need to make sure that the boards line up as we go higher so that we have a very consistent look. The other thing that we're doing with these boards is you can screw off so that one screw is here and the other screw about 30 millimeters from the bottom. Excellent material as the screw goes in there. When we join the boards, we do a 45 degree chamfer cut on the end of the board, and then we measure down to where the next board is going to be. So one is an overcut and the next one is on this end of the board will be an undercut to mate up to that 45 degree chamfer, and this one will be again an overcut so that you can see the 45. This one will be an undercut so that it mates up to the outside of that. And then we'll continue our way around. On every join we're using a Selflok sealing material that comes into the joint and then should flush off fairly nicely. One of the little touches that we're doing is we're adding a name plaque between the window and the main entry door for our hometown series name for the tiny house. First in the series being Warra, which is out on the Darling Downs in Queensland. So here you can see we've taken a section of the Weathertex cladding, we've installed it into our laser machine, and we've laser engraved the name and so forth. I think the result is quite cool. Hi, this is Ross from Lifestyle Cabins. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update on where we're at with the installation of the cladding on the tiny house. This is the first video update in a while. We've been very busy doing the cladding, and so I'm just putting together the final part of the video now, and so I'll give everybody a quick walk around on exactly what we've achieved to date. As you can see, we've made some nice progress with the outside of the tiny house cladding. We've still got some to go up on the top when we do the flashing for the roof and install the skylights. So we're very pleased with how this is turning out. We still haven't completed all of the external cladding. We had to actually do a little bit of rework on this bottom section along here, because when we got up to where this angle is, it didn't actually line up correctly. We didn't have enough material left on this section to be able to cut this to miter it in. So we put a longer piece down on the bottom. All of this sealant will trim off and we should have a nice finished edge there. So we'll get that finished, and then we can come around to finishing this side of the tiny house. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you'll receive notifications when we release our next video.